Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Deb Talks. We took a break for the summer vacations, and now we're back here with our first guest of the year for the new year. And we are so happy to have her here with us. It's Anna. Anna is an intuitive eating and positive body image coach. And today we're going to talk a little bit about her journey, and she's also going to give us some tips. Anna teaches non-diet approach to overcome food challenges, like binge overeating and emotional eating and so on. And she assists women to relearn how to trust their bodies. So I'm very grateful for Anna that she made some time for us today. She's joining us all the way. I think she is are you in Portugal or somewhere else? She's somewhere else.
Switzerland at the moment, yes.
Switzerland. So the time difference, But so thank you so much, Anna, for joining us and making time to talk to our listeners today. This is a very important topic, of course, and it goes way beyond. It's so deeply embedded in our society, not just for females, but also males. But I guess today we will mostly just talk about females, since that's your job that you're doing. Because we can go on and on and on to talk about food. But let's just start with, what people can do if they're struggling, and just give us a little bit of an introduction of how you got onto this path, and who you are and so on.
Yeah. So for me, it's a very personal journey or a very personal topic, which I think a lot of people that work in this field, that's how they arrive there. I had my own struggles from a teenager with eating disorders. I had anorexia as a teenager, which then turned into binge eating disorder, which then turned into orthorexia. And throughout all of that time, about 20-year sort of span, the underlying current was always this deep dissatisfaction with my body and this hyper focus on what my body looked like. I worked in the fitness industry as a Pilates teacher for a really long time, and I was really caught up in the very toxic fitness world as well, which is very body focused, and not body focused as in how we feel in our bodies, but body focused as in what does our body look like. And as I said, after about 20 years, I hit the sort of rock bottom where I realized, okay, this isn't actually healthy. I had told myself for a really long time I was doing this for health reasons, but that wasn't completely true. And it was really that moment where I became really honest with myself, and, looked in the mirror, took a good hard look in the mirror at myself and going, okay, you've done this for about 20 years. Do you want to continue living your life like this for the next 20 or 40 years? And the answer was a clear no, because I was really suffering. And I got to that point where I just went, I don't even care anymore. I don't care what happens to my body. I don't care what happens with food. I don't care about anything. I just want out of this hell, because it was all consuming. And that was sort of the beginning for me. And when I always give this example, it's like I'd been living in this really big house, and all of a sudden I discovered there was a door to another room that I'd never even realized. And I opened the door, and that was the door of intuitive eating, the anti-diet movement. And it was filled with women who were speaking my language. They were describing my own pain and my own struggle, whereas I had thought for all this time it was just me, because a lot of women don't share their own journey because it's deeply shameful.
Well, we hide it, right? It's like anything else. We hide those things that we think the world doesn't want to see, because seemingly, if you look at the social media, it's like you just have to show your good parts and only show the good things. How many times you've seen a picture on social media, and like just that instant was that picture taken, but the moment before that and the moment after that was just terrible. And so people, we have this tendency to show society only the good sides. And when we are in pain and suffering, we just hold that in and we keep it. And we become a victim of that. And so that's why I'm such a fan of people that, myself included, you can only help people to the extent that you've needed the help.
Absolutely.
There's no way you can understand it otherwise.
That's exactly right. 100%. Yeah.
So there's no need to hide anything. If you And I love what you said about that. You were on this for 20 years already, and you wanted out of this hell. And this is the personal hell that we create for ourselves, thinking that we have to fit in with society and what society thinks as normal. But most of those people are all suffering and in pain. And it's so wonderful when one person can break out of that and can be brave enough and say, I'm going to live my truth. And even if it's a bit ugly for a while, but I'm going to find a way to come back to my true self. That's admirable to me.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think for some people, they have to get to that really hard and painful place of suffering, right? Before we're ready to shift. You know, it's like, it's that example of the pain just has to get bad enough to motivate us to change something. And that's when we go, okay, staying the same is uncomfortable, changing is uncomfortable, but at least if I change, it'll only be uncomfortable for some time, not for the rest of my life. And then that's that choice that we make. But sometimes it has to, not always, but sometimes it really, we have to get to that place to then be open to other suggestions.
Yes. And also when you make that break, it's like, well, you already know what you're going to get if you continue on the path that you are. But, you know, if you try something new, you just never know. You might get that breakthrough. And I think what's even more positive about this is when you've made the breakthrough, now you can help others. And I've been teaching and doing yoga and doing a lot of self-help personal work with people for over 25 years. There is nothing more rewarding than using the knowledge that you have, that you've gain through your own life, that you can share with another human being and help them to come out of their dark place, to come out of that, to understand that they always have the power. I know sometimes people feel like if you're out there and you're listening to this, it could be eating disorder, it could be anything else, because it's whatever it is that's causing the pain and the suffering. Always know that you always have some kind of power that you can use in your life to change it. Small steps. Right. But in the end, if you take those small steps, you're going to come to this big place of, okay, this is the life that I want. So you start to create the life that you want instead of continuing the pain and the suffering. And then, of course, I'm not so sure about you, Anna, but in a lot of people's cases, I mean, we can say that, I perpetuated this pain and suffering for 20 years, but I didn't know. And so when I know better, now I can do better. And that's why I love doing podcasts with people like yourself and so many people that have used the pain and the suffering and they've, broken free from that. And then the best way to keep on that path is to show others, to share. It's always in sharing, isn't it?
Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. And
so do you want to
think it is, so no, you go.
No, I was going to say, then I would love to hear a little bit more about like how you came to this journey of now being so empowered and helping others to find that empowerment. Because look at you, you're absolutely beautiful. And to me, like from the top that I can see, it's perfect weight. And you probably eat everything that you like and so on. It's like, what a change going from victim to completely being in your power.
Yeah. Oh, lots to unpack in everything that you just said. But I'll just start with the first thing that you spoke about, how I came to then helping people. So like I just said before, I was working as a Pilates teacher. And when I decided to want to go into recovery and overcome these challenges, it was really confronting because I was still teaching. People had known me in a certain size body for, a long time. And I was working in very tight clothes. I was working in front of a mirror. So I think I had an extra challenge, because I came from extreme restriction to then extreme restriction and exercise obsession to then allow my body to rest more and eat more food. And like you said, it can be a little bit ugly there for a while, ugly as in messy and uncomfortable. And, your body's adjusting to you eating more because I restricted for so long. I ate more food, it was kind of, this is making up for this really long restriction period. I was gaining weight and I started to, what it's like when you go through a change, you all of a sudden put on another set of glasses and you see everything very differently. So my clients, a lot of my female clients, I started to see, just the way they were talking about their bodies, the things that they were sharing with me, the frustration of having come for so long and the body hadn't changed. And bursting into tears and going, I don't know what I'm doing wrong. What's wrong with my body? I hate my body. I started to see it was such a big problem. And I started just to naturally share, my own experience with this and everything that I was learning through the support system that I had. And I started to feel really unfulfilled with the Pilates work, because I thought, no, this is not the women's work I want to do. I want to go right to the foundation, which is the self-concept that we live with. And, our home, this vessel is our body. And so many women don't even live in it because they hate it so much. So they're completely disconnected from it, which is just heartbreaking. Yes. And so I felt, I just really felt really called to then go to that place and do the work there. So that's how it involved. Exactly. Yeah.
Wow. So tell us a little bit then about what you do, and like if a client should reach out, like how would you help them and so on?
Sure. So, I mean, most of the women that come to me have some kind of food challenge. A lot of it is to do with feeling out of control with certain foods. So, usually it's sugary stuff or carbs, where they've been trying to restrict that for a really long time because they've read it's unhealthy, it's bad for you, it makes you gain weight. They might have also just changed their diet in a way to be more health conscious, and it's just gone into this obsessive nature. Because a lot of the women that come to me as well have that sort of type A personality, the perfectionist. So they do everything really, really right,
rigid.
like all the way. So if it's like being healthy, okay, I'm going to go all the way in. And so what they're then struggling with often is periods of restriction and dieting, cutting out certain foods and food groups, but then also struggling with this out of control feeling, having binges at night or reaching to food for comfort, and just kind of sometimes being in that cycle of being really good or really bad, or just being really good in the week, but falling off the wagon on the weekends. So that's sort of the eating behavior that I see. And then it really always comes back down to how they feel about their bodies. A lot of the times there is a deep desire to want to lose weight, with the idea, because this is what we've been taught as women, that if we lose weight and if we have the body of our dreams, then everything will fall into place. Then we will feel confident. Then we will feel happy. Then we will be desired and we will be loved and everything will be great, right? So the sentences that I hear all of the time is, once I lose weight, I will be me again. Once I lose weight, my life will really begin. So there is this huge pressure that women put on this weight, on their bodies, and it's so conditional. So they can't live their lives. They can't be fully themselves until
they lose the weight.
So they've made it, so they've made it their life's purpose. All the energy, all the focus, everything goes into trying to get to that body. And in the meantime, they end up with disordered eating behaviors. They hate themselves even more. They miss out on their lives because they can't ever be fully present anywhere, because this tape of, I need to lose weight. Can I eat this? Oh no, hang on, I ate this earlier. I haven't exercised. No, I should probably not eat this. I mean, it's just, relentless.
Goes on and on. Yes.
It goes on and on. So we're never really present. And it's also that what I was saying before about being disconnected from their bodies. So they're never really having a fully lived experience. They're always slightly removed from themselves. Mm-hmm. So it's a really deeply unfulfilling existence.
Yeah. And actually, just as you're talking about that, I had this this intuition came through about how a lot of that is because we don't know how to be present, right? So we're always, the mind is always going against the past, going towards the future, my future desires, my past, troubles or regrets. And so we are not able to be present. So that, if your mind is busy saying, well, I want to be that weight and I got to be that weight to be in my bikini, in the summer, or I was like, I put on so much weight in the winter. Do you know what I mean? Like we're not able, and that's how we miss it on our life. But I would like to bring attention to this part, and ask how you feel about this, because we have a body, all of us have a body, and we start to become aware really of our body in our teenage years, right? And so as a female, so your body starts to get ready to have children, basically. So you have that teenage body, you get all a little bit of curves and stuff, you start menstruating, and you go through a big shift. And then I feel like you go through that shift for a long time. And of course, during those years, it's all about like attracting the right partner, because that's how we are wired to a survival on this planet, right? So it's like, oh, I got to have this good weight because apparently you got to be skinny to attract a good guy, or whatever your desire is about being that, in that body. But what happens is during those years, have you ever heard this term called childbearing hips? So for us to become more prepared as females to bear children, we need to put on curves. So you cannot expect your body to stay the same. Like if you were skinny, let's say when you started in your teenage years, you cannot expect your body, because your body is preparing for that thing which it needs to do. Now, when the body's done that thing and it's had children, and many women go through different shifts about that. So some women have no problem and they can lose the weight, and some people never lose the weight. So there's that aspect about it again. And then we go even through another phase where we go through the menopause, and again the body is shifting. So it's completely madness to fight against the natural progression of our bodies, to then think that we have to be skinny, stay skinny. It's like, have the children, get your body prepared to have the children, after the children, and still look like you're a teenager, like in that weight. It makes no sense.
Absolutely.
So when you become present with what's actually happening with us as human beings, we don't have to, like, I believe that if you're looking for a partner, hopefully most people are looking for a partner that's going to stay with them their whole life, that's going to go through the changes with them. Right? So if you're trying to fix things on your body, so to stay like you're looking like a teenager weight, like what kind of person are you attracting that's only interested in the way your body looks? But because let's face it, like when you've seen people that's been married for 50 years and 60 years, there's something sweet about it, something so amazing about it, because they've stayed together, they've gone through the changes together, they've grown together, and they've accepted the change in the other together. And there's something like special about it. So if you're looking to find a partner to be with, isn't it then better to find a partner that's going to go through the changes with you than expect your body to look like a teenager when you're 50?
Absolutely.
I mean, that's another aspect of looking at it. Like, it's madness to think that you're forcing your body, you're hurting yourself to look like, a teenage body.
Absolutely. And I always ask women I always ask the question, okay, so now you've reached your goal weight, your dream body, and now what? What have you done to get to this point? Are you prepared to do this for the rest of your life? And like you said, what kind of partner are you attracting? Someone who only accepts you as in this size, with this shape.
Yeah.
Or someone who loves all of you. And I think it really comes back to a deeper question of, who are we? Because we're not this body, but yet we are taught that we should derive our sense of self-worth and lovability only from our body, as if that's all that we are, right? So if we think of little kids, for example, who don't have that distinction yet, they're in their bodies, they're not worried about their round belly or their wobbly thighs or their big butts, they're just out there on the beach running around naked, just having a great time. They're not worried about, oh, I wonder what this person is thinking of my body right now. They don't worry about what they might look like doing what they're doing. They're just experiencing the doing of it that the body allows them to do.
Because they're present.
They're present. They don't have that distinction. Whereas then later we start to separate from that. And then it's more about, what does my body look like, as opposed to what experience am I having in this body? And we start to look at the body as this ornamental thing, outside of us, as if it's this thing to be sculpted and to be shaped, rather than our body being our instrument for living. Because that's really what it is. And then to really also consider that what I was saying before, our body is not all that we are, and people love us and appreciate us, and we love and appreciate people not for their bodies, but for their heart, for their values, for how they show up in life, for the joy that they bring, and not for what their body looks like. And I always give that example because I work with a lot of mums. What if your child all of a sudden lost an arm, or was in a fire and was disfigured? Would you love your child less? The answer, of course, is always no.
Yes.
I love my child unconditionally, no matter what.
Yes, exactly.
So right, because we love them for who they are, we don't love them for their body.
Yeah, it's a little different in the society when you're attracting a partner, though, for that, because they are, you can see in society, there are some, I mean, come on, that's really what's going on in a lot of our society things. It's like there is this kind of like, oh, if you look good, if you look this perfection, and maybe for some females, I'm not sure about male because I have a female body myself, but I've seen it, like a lot of females, maybe they have that body for a certain amount of years. Maybe it's 1 or 2 years, maybe it's 3 or 4 or 5 years, but it's not going to last. And that's for sure, because of the change, the evolutionary change. So, you know, there is this kind of like, oh, everybody loves that when you look like that. Or if you're a movie star and you showing that, oh, this is the perfect standard. And that also changes through the years. Like 100 years ago, if you had curves, you were in. And then we changed to skinny.
Of course.
Exactly. Yeah. So it's like, it's always changing. But for now in our society, it's like, oh, if women look like this, they'll get roles, they'll get money, they'll get on the front page of this. So sometimes we feel like society is, you know, saying yes to those kinds of people. But I loved what you said early on so profoundly about, you know, we cannot put our self-worth in this body because it's constantly changing. And if you're putting your self-worth in a certain time, a frame of time where you think your body is perfect, you're going to miss the rest of your life, you know? So it's like, please be aware that you can't expect your body to stay in this, because everything in this universe is moving through time and space and changing. Like even your body, look, from the time you were born to like teenage years, we've always kept changing. So then it's madness to think that your body has to stay in a certain way, and that, you know, and females, all this pressure on females to look the same. It's like,
yeah,
I mean, I don't want to swear, but I'd say go yourself, you know?
Absolutely. And you know, we have to remember that some people make a lot of money from us believing it, that we can control our body, right? This is an industry, probably $1 trillion industry. So
put your injections here and put your plastic there and whatever, you know, all these things. And it's okay if people choose to do those things, but as long as you know your self-worth does not come from your body. You are worthy because you are here, you know? And the problem that we make, you know, as I don't know, females, I can only speak about myself, is that what you said earlier on, there's this learned behavior of comparing ourselves. Because when you watch children, they don't do that. They don't think about what you think of them. So this learned behavior is what is the problem. And that's why I say you can always do something to help yourself. So if you check that learned behavior in yourself, where does it come from? Where's the root cause of that? Maybe somebody in your childhood said it. Maybe you just saw it somewhere and believed that that's what you want to do. This is all learned behaviors, because when you were a child, you were free. I absolutely loved it when you said that. You just go out, you run around, you don't think about what other people are thinking about your body. And so when you attract people into your life as a partner, then they're going to stay with you, not for how you look or even what you do, but for who you are. And those are the people you want to have the rest of your life, not just the people that's attracted when you have tight skin and tight butt and big boobs. Correct. Because, you know, if you're attracted to a person for that, well, that's going to change. for sure.
Yeah, and
100%.
of course, and the other person is going to change too. I mean, we all, you know, no one's getting out of
We
here
all-
alive. We're all
we're all
headed to the
aging,
same
basically. We're all aging.
That's it. I mean,
Yes.
you know, we might be able to fight that for a period, but eventually, you know, that's just where we're all headed. So we can spend our lifetime putting again all of our resources and all of our energy into resisting that, or we can just go, okay, how can I relax into this experience and actually enjoy this very short amount of time that I have in this body, which is a gift in and of itself, that we have this vessel to experience the richness of life.
To smell the roses, to eat the food, to taste the cheese, to touch somebody, you know? Yeah. So I wanted to ask you about this. So how would you then say, if people are now just allowing themselves to be okay to eat what they want, and I mean, there are some people who do eat their feelings, so we need to cut down a little bit, perhaps. There are some people that eat the wrong foods at the wrong time, so we need to so how would you guide people into, because everybody is so individual and so different, so I love the idea of eating healthily, eating whenever you need to and whatever you want to and so on, but there are some people who would need some guidance because they have allowed too much at the wrong times, and how then to create a discipline that's not like rigid, but that can be helpful.
Yeah, a great question. And this is something that comes up all of the time. But Anna, if I allow myself to eat whatever I want, I'm just going to always eat just chocolate and brownies and ice cream because that's all I ever feel like. So there's a huge fear. We really got to understand that a lot of this out of control behavior with food comes from restriction. It's this thing of, I can't have this because it's bad, it's unhealthy, it's making me fat, I shouldn't have it, it's not good for me. So we've got that running in our head. And so whenever we reach for it, when we give in to the craving, we feel even worse. So this is the cycle that often happens. We give into the craving, we have it, and we go, oh, I shouldn't eat it, I shouldn't eat it. Well, I've just eaten it now, so I might as well go for it because as of tomorrow, I'm not going to have it again. And that's how we often end up in a binge. So we really got to address the restriction to begin with, because a lot of the binging and overeating and emotional eating behavior stems from a form of restriction. So that is one aspect of it. And of course, we got to also look at habits, you know, food habits. Are we, like I said before, are we disconnected from our bodies? So we're not actually hearing what our body wants in terms of food. We're just reaching for the same old stuff because we're on autopilot. And we're not actually tuning into, what do I literally genuinely feel like eating right now? Is it something crunchy and cold like a salad? Is it something warm like a soup? Is it a brownie straight out of the oven, or is it an apple? So that we can start to distinguish these individual cravings that our body communicates with us. And then, of course, there is the attachment to food that also, we know it's we're genetically programmed to reach for food for comfort. And it starts really as babies. When we're upset, you know, we cry, mommy comes and we get the breast or the bottle, and we get love, we get the touch, the safety. So it's completely normal that our first instinct when we're upset and we can't get the touch, we can't get the love, that we reach to food to get that. And I always say, you know, there's nothing inherently wrong with this behavior. It's actually a really smart strategy because we get an instant fix. We get an instant relief. We instantly feel better in that moment. It's just that it's not a sustainable solution because we're not addressing the underlying need. So we're reaching for food to get a need met, but it's not actually the need that we really have. So of course we got to address what else is going on there.
It's like go to the root of the problem.
Yeah, that's right. So there's, you know, sort of it's like a multi-layered answer. A lot of it can also be stress. You know, when we feel stressed, we reach for food and we get an instant sense of relaxation. So a lot of people aren't equipped with tools and ways to regulate their nervous system. They only know food. You know, then we can look at lifestyle choices. Am I on the phone all day long? Am I watching really stimulating movies at night? Am I working, and never breathing deeply? Am I not spending any time in nature? So, you know, then it goes a little bit deeper. So I think overall, most people just need to stop feeling so guilty for eating food and really take that pressure off, that there is a right way to eat or a wrong way, a healthy or unhealthy, and just to go, okay, it's all okay. And I'm treating this challenge that I'm experiencing with food and this challenge I'm experiencing with my body as an opportunity to get to know myself better, because essentially that's what it is. Oh, okay, I've just eaten 2 bars of chocolate. I wonder what's going on. What happened beforehand? You know, we start to become these kind of detectives, and we look at these certain behaviors that we have with food without judgment, because as soon as we bring the judgment into our food choices, we bring the guilt back for eating something, then we want to restrict it more because we feel guilty, and then that whole cycle starts again. So the first approach is usually with clients that we just go, we're going to remove the food rules. We're going to restore the connection with your body through different techniques. We're going to address.
So good. Restore the connection with your body.
That's a big piece. And then we're going to look at, you know, habituated patterns with food. We're going to look at emotional patterns. We're going to look at, you know, what's stored in your body in terms of emotions. What haven't you dealt with? What are some of the the deepest core self-concepts that you've been walking around with, like I'm not worthy, or, you know, constant self-judgment, or people-pleasing, or a high state of anxiety? Like, we look at all of those pieces because all of those pieces affect how we eat, what we eat, if we eat really fast, what state we're in while we're eating. So all of those pieces come together.
It's really amazing. So basically, could we say then that the problem with food is a result of a root cause of something else? So if you get to the root cause, then as a result, you will cancel out that. And so I love your approach. It sounds like one of the best ways to approach it is to first let go of your obsession or whatever it is with the food, because the fact, and I loved how you explained it, like, you know, it's nourishing. It's like when we were upset as a baby, the mom comes and she gives us the breast. And so some of us just interpret that as, okay, that's how I soothe myself. But I know that all of us have the capacity to, you know, find that peace and joy within ourselves. And so we don't need it. And for some people, it can be cigarettes or drugs or alcohol. Different people use different things. Just if your issue is with food, that's probably, like I said, just the result of a problem that's deeper. And I love your approach is to say, like, well, let's work on both ends. It sounds like, so that's, you know, that's very amazing, because I think in society, you know, again, the reason why we don't speak out about these things, because we don't want to feel judged, but at the same time, we keep suffering. And, you know, if you just reach out, that's why I do these podcasts again. When you reach out to somebody who's been through it, to me, there's no more powerful person that can help it than somebody that's, you know, someone that's been the alcoholic, somebody that's been the binge eater, you know. So if you're really struggling today with body image or overeating, undereating, anything like that, I would encourage you to reach out to Anna. I'm going to put all her details at the bottom of this podcast. You can reach out to her. She's absolutely beautiful, and I'm sure, you know, she can help you to find out what is the issues around your food problems. I also just wanted to add on a little bit, sometimes with food, and of course with so many other things, but let's just take food. We have a whole industry of people telling us today it's like, oh, eggs are good for you, and tomorrow it's like, oh, eggs are not good for you. So we have to contend with a lot. So don't be hard on yourself. There's a lot of information out there, especially living in this like instant, you know, information world, and the information keeps changing. And in a world that's constantly changing so fast, I think it's very important to allow your body to speak to you. And that's what I've heard Anna say. Like, if you give your body a chance, the body will speak to you and it will ask for the right things at the right time. But the problem with us is that we have not been listening for many years, you know, because we have
our heads. Right, we have
those glasses.
We have so much information bombarding us. The noise up here is very loud. That the little whispers, the subtle whispers of our body doesn't have
we
a
can't
chance.
hear it. And then
Mm.
on top of this, like thinking that we should be perfect and have a teenage body when I'm 50. It's like, no, you don't. Go with your evolution. Go with the, like, look at history and look at the bodies of women or men, if you're a man, and how it's evolved. And don't buy into the society when they say, oh, you have to look like this and this to be loved, to be accepted, because you are loved, you are accepted. You have to be the first one to do it. You know?
And just to add to that, I always invite people just to go out into the real world and start to just look at all the different bodies out there, the real bodies, not the social media bodies, but just the normal Joes out there, you know, that walk around, and also notice couples where maybe the women are in larger size bodies, where you know, where you, because we have these beliefs that, yeah, we have to be skinny to attract a partner. But if we actually look out in the world, I see it all of the time. Sometimes the woman is bigger than the man. Sometimes she has big thighs, and you know, they look like, I mean, obviously we can't tell from looking from the outside in what the relationship is like, but there are couples out there where the women are not the model size. That's really important to recognize.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, Anna, thank you so very much for taking out some of your time to talk with us. It's been so lovely. And I wish you a good, wherever you are in Switzerland right now, enjoy everything there. And we will talk again soon.
Thanks so much for having me.
You're welcome. Bye.
Bye.